Okay, it started.
Good. Hi everyone, I'm Ala and welcome to Keep It Sexy. Today here I'm with Rebekah Freedom, relationship therapist. How are you today, Rebekah?
I'm well. Good morning and good evening and good afternoon for whomever's watching this at any time of the day.
Yeah, because you're actually now based in sunny California, so it's really early for you. That's a great accomplishment.
It's a complete change from living in Colorado. Colorado's dry and rocky, and this is coastal and humid and beautiful. So yeah, it's been a wonderful, wonderful change to be able to be here in the San Diego area.
So, so I just wanted to follow up with you with regards to our favorite topic, relationships. So much that we can talk about. So what's new in the relationship sphere? How are you, how are you? Let's talk about. Sorry, this will be kind of. So I just wanted to know what's new in relationships right now. What are the trends?
Well, it's exciting that you asked that. And I've been in counseling for 3 years. So I've been able to see some really clear patterns in relationships. So what's new in relationships is it's defined by technology now. Relationships are now really defined in the sphere of technology. People are on Tinder and Hinge and different dating apps and are playing relationships like it's a video game. Like, how many people can I get to like me? How many friends on Facebook can I collect? I see people with Facebook friends of 3,000 people, and I'm like, no one has 3,000 friends, No one. In addition to that, the show The Bachelor has been on for almost a decade now, and it just shows like 25 men going after one woman. And I think we get that in our consciousness that more is better. More is better. So that's the current trend I'm seeing in relationship. But what's actually true is the same thing that's been true for all of time, is we just want to love and be loved.
Actually, that's an interesting point. How would you define then a digital relationship? So, what is the definition
So they're fast and furious. A lot of digital relationships. It's amazing to me that people have to write so quickly on an online dating site or a profile. I'm not here to hook up. I'm not here just to give my body to you. Like there's such a mentality of just go get the pleasure, just go get the sex, and get in, get out, and try to have minimal emotional connection, which is one of the greatest illusions and the greatest ironies of our time. Because when you continue to hook up with people, it creates such a deep pain inside. So we'll go into that a little bit deeper, but just to be succinct with the answer, digital relationships are defined by speed.
and so when do they work and when do they not work? What is the? I mean, some people we have to be doing them for a reason. Some people are getting something out of it, right? So give me a bit more of that.
Well, without really being behind the scenes of Match.com, OkCupid, and all of the billion-dollar industry that is the dating industry, I have to say they work because we're driven by two forces: the avoidance of pain and the desire for pleasure. And so dating sites meet us right in the middle. We don't want to be lonely, so we go to the vendor that will say you could meet somebody so you could have pleasure and not be lonely. That's what propels our behavior to these. It's almost like going to a grocery store to to pick a mate. Like, oh, I'll go to an aisle 13 and they'll be my tall, dark, and handsome. I'll just pick that up. I'll pay $19.95 and I'll be good. And, you know, not true. Not true. People are not vending machines.
Right. And I guess because of that, that trend, I mean, because we're doing that trend is sort of accelerating. So there's a mentality and expectations. What are the expectations of each party then in this digital relationship? How does one benchmark how they should act in a relationship?
So I heard two different questions in there, and I'll answer kind of both of them. Like, how do you act, you know, and then what are people really trying to get out of the digital relationship? And again, I'll say, just a lot of people are trying to go into a relationship with minimal emotional devastation, like minimal emotional investment and maximum pleasure. Like how much pleasure, how much satisfaction of my needs can I get out of this? And so how people act is they often are not authentic or manipulative or sometimes gullible, and how they should act is something else we can talk about. It's the realm of how humans are interacting in our current time in history is like children that are throwing tantrums. That's how I feel about that.
Can we avoid getting hurt? I mean, if we're trying to, there's at one point, things don't come for free. So if we're going to get pleasure, somebody's going to get hurt. How do we not get hurt?
Right. Well, I want to say that's a powerful statement on your part, that really nothing comes for free. Everything comes in trade. So if you're going to venture, first and foremost, to remember your heart and your body are precious. They're precious things. No matter how big or small your ethnicity, your gender, your sexual preferences, there's a precious component of your heart. And so if you're going to offer that to somebody else, if you're going to open your life to somebody else, really understand what you're giving it for, right? Because it's not that it won't get hurt. It's not that it won't be disappointed. Not that you won't run into like both good and bad times. But if you understand, I'm giving why you're giving your heart, why you're opening it up, it gives you a sense of empowerment that I have a precious life, heart, and body to share with my partner and with the world. And I would say if you take it from that mindset, you're much more likely to feel empowered and to learn from anything that hurt you.
I guess some of the things I've seen on these applications are different ways of different discussions. Tinder, I think, is a really good example of where you can get into different discussions and different ways to meet. What are some of the safe ways to meet people through these digital applications? What should people avoid in their opinion? What are some sort of a benchmark of good and bad?
I was just having this conversation with girlfriends yesterday. We were all sitting around the brunch table and talking, and I was like, pretty much when you open up your Tinder app, the first thing it opens up to you, it opens you up to being judged and judging other people by just a snapshot picture, right? So so first of all, you go through and you're like, not cute, not cute, not cute, like looks threatening, then maybe there's somebody you're attracted to because of their physical prowess, right? But there is no way to know from a picture if someone is safe, honest, is telling you the truth. And so I honestly think that the digital apps, especially Tinder, are opening up women to greater danger. I think they're dangerous. I think they're actually dangerous. I think that we don't necessarily think of that. We think that, you know, a lot of people are genuine, but even if they're a genuine person, you're not going to be able to tell the difference between a genuine person and a liar via text message or via a picture. I will go on record saying that these apps that we're using are actually are opening us up to more danger.
And from your experience, I reckon you have a lot of people who have used these applications and they are talking about people now. There's a lot of literature written about positive and negative things, right? They let you meet people like you wouldn't usually meet. It's convenient. The negative things we can list as well. So I'm wondering, but the general consensus among people, right, speaks partially the truth, right? So where are you seeing more negative outcomes or more neutral or more safe? My impression is it's more dangerous from experience.
So in my practice, I see, and also in my own life, I see a lot of people just like sort of going through a turnstile, like cycling through human relationship. They're not really making connection. And here's what's amazing about the brain and the body is when you do something repetitively over and over and over again, it creates an imprint in your body, in your mind. It creates a habit. It creates a behavioral structure. So if you constantly are swiping right, or you're constantly looking for profiles, or you're looking, or you start something, but you then are like, I don't know, this feels uncomfortable, and you go to the next thing, what you're in training in your body is detachment, not being able to connect. And I promise you, I'm so passionate about this. I promise that the thing that changes lives, the thing that fulfills us, the thing that is true wealth is soul connection, is deep connection. And you don't have it with 3,000 people. You have it with maybe a handful of people, right? You have it with a community and your partner. It's not, oh, my partner gave me every wonderful thing I could ever want, or my community's just giving it to me. It's just starting with you and your ability to connect. And I know I kind of went on I get a little preachy, but that's what I would say when you ask about dating applications, is they open us up to be disconnected zombies. It's pretty much how I would sum that up.
Do you think there's a future for them, or are people eventually just going to leave them behind? Is it only going to be for strict hookups? Can we safely make a statement today and say, if you are looking for something serious, you are really silly to be using these approaches? Is that possible?
I will go on record with my 3 years of being a relationship counselor and of doing a lot of research and saying, I'm gonna give it probably a 99% failure rate if you really want to be in a relationship that when you start it digitally via an app that well, let me say that over. Let me start that over. So we'll erase that part. Yeah. So but what I'll say, I will go on record saying that the best way to meet somebody is proximity. Like when you're in the workplace together, or if that's not going to work, then you're going to events together. You're doing the things in your life that you love to do that are promoting your health, and you meet people organically. You meet and you connect with them without ever reading how tall they are or what sports they're into. You go in with this freshness and and then you open yourself up to a more organic experience. And I think that dating applications take that away from us, and therefore are sort of a setup for it for disappointment.
You mentioned something really strong as to having I think almost like a ritual that works for each individual person, and then taking that to the world, whether that happens via a digital formation. It's possible, right? I mean, I've met some really cool people that have participated on the blog with me through digital, so we can't say completely that it's nonsensical, but I think maybe it's time to redefine and help put behavioral change into people defining what they like first. How can you maybe go on about rituals that will help people omit the difficulties of, let's say, dating apps if they're used, or meet other people in normal, organic manners?
So I'm being a little ironic in the fact that you and I are talking over a digital forum, which we could not do. This would be impossible years and years ago. So I recognize the irony in my statement, but specific to digital dating apps, I think there is a sort of cultural mindset about the speed. If it doesn't work, on to the next thing. That being said, when technology helps people connect, and those people have already a skill set to connect, to be vulnerable and open with one another, then the digital medium becomes sort of a facilitator. It becomes a platform for greater connection. Whereas, so I guess in a very simple way, everything has a light side and a dark side, and it's what you do with it and how you use it that makes the difference.
I want to go a little bit back into why we pursue it, because I think it's important that we talk about some of the things we're looking for. You mentioned how important connection is in a relationship. And it's how important it is we just discuss how important it is for us to have our own organic manner, find what we are ourselves to approach relationships. What do you say the three most important categories one has to sort of define before they approach a relationship, as to what people are looking for?
So you broke up just a little bit, so we asked that again.
Yeah, I want to know what the three most important value-adding elements are to a relationship. So if we were to start, before we approach anything to find somebody, writing down on the paper what's most important to us, and how should we approach that?
It's such a, I just want to invite our audience to take a breath, because it's such a potent question, right? So I'm going to offer a very sort of generalized, broad answer, but for you who's watching, I invite you to really just take a breath and go inside and take inventory of the three things that really matter to you, right? That really make a difference. And I just want to ask for clarity on your part to say, when we're asking about the three values that really support a healthy relationship, that's what we're talking about, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Because I think at the end of the day, we're all looking for healthy relationships.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the three values that define healthy or really help support healthy relationship is, I would say, the queen value on the list would be authenticity, being a authentic person. And this is a term that gets used quite often in self-help, in the self-help genre. But being authentic means you've gone through really hard shit in your life and you've started to develop a sense of self. You have a sense of, this is who I am. And I'm okay being this in the world. I just watched a documentary with Lady Gaga and Jean-Paul Gaultier, and he interviewed her. It's very inspirational. It's on YouTube. You can look it up, about how she is fearless in her expression. She was like, I have to be committed to my vision, because if you're not committed to creativity, creativity will not be committed to you. Which leads me to the next component of a very healthy relationship, is shared commitment. And even if you're in a relationship with yourself, if you have something in your heart that is driving you, that just is bugging you, that you must be committed to that. Perseverance wins out over talent 99% of the time. If you make adjustments along the way, but you are committed, it will support your life's dreams as well as your healthy relationship. And lastly, I would say make adjustments along the way. Don't be rigid. Don't be like, it has to be this way forever and always, because we wake up a new person every day. Our body goes through cycles that are just automatic and mysterious and magical. And so participate in the magic by being flexible and communicating that flexibility. So just to really recap and bullet point those, the first is being authentic. The second is being committed, having a shared commitment. And the third is being flexible. Mm-hmm.
What about touch? How important is touch in a relationship and or in not a relationship? Because humans want touch to feel part of something. How can you comment?
It's really, again, I'm so excited for these questions that are like sort of organically coming up. I want our audience to know that we're sort of just in a conversation about stuff that's important to us and we know important to you. So I invite everybody to take a breath too again and think about how important is touch to them. And I'll say again, as a clinician and a person, it's extremely important. It's like when we're little babies, if we don't get touched or cared for, it can actually stunt development. And I'm going to cite a study that was done where it was on monkeys. It was back in, when you could practice on animals, and they still do that, and this was probably, all right, well, we can cut that piece. All right, so I'm going to cite a study where basically they did this deprivation of food with monkeys, and they had two wire structures. One of it had food in it for the monkey to eat, and the monkey was deprived of food and touch. And the other was wrapped in a blanket. It was wrapped in a soft blanket. And when given a choice, the monkey gravitated towards the blanket, towards touch, even over food. And I'm being very cursory in my description of that study, but what they drew from it is that touch is essential to our well-being. Essential. It's essential to our well-being.
Sometimes I wonder, maybe, can we find, if we haven't had touch for a while, we sometimes go years without touch. Does our chemistry change? Are we more vulnerable? Do we find the opportunities that touch may come? How does one cultivate body and mind to be prepared for all these things that we want in a relationship, like touch? We're deprived of it. Because there's a lot of people who basically are just lonely. Go to bed at 5 at night. Just wondering, how does that work in today's modern world?
Um, so if you go a long time without touch, there's a lot more anxious or depressive behavior that comes up. So I want to be clear about the type of touch that we're talking about, because it feels important to mention. It's obviously consensual touch. It's touch that's invited, that's affectionate, that there's touch is definitely a form of communication. If someone can be punching you, that's a form of touch. So we're talking about non-violent, loving, caring touch. And if you go quite some time without it, and it doesn't even have to be romantic, it can cause a little bit of anxiety or depression. So your chemistry can change. It can absolutely change. That's why isolation is such a powerful punishment in our prisons.
I know this is going to get cut, but I was trying to find a way to link it to what we were discussing last week. You know, maybe how being open up to being touched but not being raped. I don't know if there's any of that in this discussion.
Yeah, I think that that's a powerful discussion to have. So,
say, hey,
yeah,
envision this in our minds, like touch being the instant.
Yeah, I think that oh man, look at that. I think so I'll just reiterate again. You know, and I'm so for the audience, when I'm sure I say this, people are like, oh great, so now I've got to go get touched so I don't get depressed or I don't feel anxious or something like that. And it's been so long since I've had loving touch or intimate exchange. And oftentimes that opens us up for the vulnerability of having kind of consensual touch where you're sort of like, well, something is better than nothing. I'll just hook up with this guy so I can have the endorphin rush. And there is a whole culture of like free love where people are like, well, this is just how I sexually express myself. And this is what I do. And I'm not going to speak against that, but I am going to speak for people doing what feels healthy to them and what is safe, participating in safe behavior. Because back to talking about the dating apps, when you're sort of in that place where you haven't been touched for a while, you start to think, oh, I often hear people say, oh, fuck it, I'll just go hook up with somebody so at least I can feel something. The price you pay in the long run isn't really worth it. And it opens you up to possibly being in a compromising situation, emotionally, physically, mentally, and spiritually.
Do you think society has a room to rewrite some basic rules of relationships? Inviting us to hug more often, to give each other compliments more often, without jumping into conclusions, putting ourselves in compromising relationships because it's only healthy. What are healthy rituals we can have so we're not all compromising places if we do find ourselves with it.
I know. I mean, it's just, I just want to say it's frustrating, right? It's a little bit frustrating. It's a little bit like frustrating and mind-boggling. And I'll even own up as even a relationship counselor. I'm not coming from like on top of the mountain talking about this. I'm coming from the valley, like the gutter of like being in these relationships with people. I've been in absolute just love and through heart-wrenching breakups and through the dating mill. And it's just like, you're like, where are the answers? Where are the answers? What is the thing that's going to help me get out of the mire so I can have a partner, so I can be a partner. What is it? What is it? Where is it? And when is it coming to me? Right? All those things. So I get a little preachy. Okay, so what I can say about what is it, where is it, and how is it coming to you, right? What is it, and what are the rituals, and what can we do to be in those places? The thing I would say is you get to decide. You get to decide your ritual. Some people's ritual starts at 5 in the morning in the gym, healthy, doing things that make them feel good. Other people's ritual are like getting dressed up, going to the club, dancing all night, and drinking and doing drugs and connecting with people. You get to sort of decide at what level you want to live your life, right? That's what I want to say. No shame here. I'm not about shaming people. You are where you are in your journey, and you get to decide what level you want to come to your life. Because a lot of people at age 20 are nowhere near close to ready for a long-term marriage situation. Zero developmental skills for that. But sometimes, but as people grow, mature, and go through things, there is a moment where you can be like, okay, I am ready for partnership. And when you're ready for partnership, it's a practice to stay ready, not to just be like, and not to just sell yourself short, which I have done, and be impatient, which I have done, and get on a dating app, which I have done, and get yourself in a compromising situation, which I have done. Find your center and honor it wherever you are in your journey. Was that clear? I mean, I went through a lot right there. So I just want to see, when I said that, like, how did that answer the question for you?
I thought, well, to be off record, I do believe you had a really wonderful answer.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I thought would be good to sort of say would be along the lines of, it's okay if somebody gives you a hug and it's not going to go anywhere else, and it shouldn't. What are some things we could rewrite that are not so animalistic? Here's what I think would be interesting to point out. There are some things that are really animalistic and we can't change, and that's a discussion I had with my colleague. But we've modernized in every other way. So we've modernized as technology, as biology. Everything has become more modern. Like the seeds we plant to grow broccoli is modern. Okay? Yeah. But somehow there's this perception that a man is an animal. And a woman is a wonderful thing. And we know that, but it just seems that when you get into these compromising situations, there's nothing to be surprised about if a guy just wants to take advantage of you, only wants to, all these things we say. So where is some societal, what can we rewrite in modern society? How can we modernize relationships to make it a little bit more flowy, a little bit less overwhelming when we're going through the hiccups, And I think the ritual was a really good one, what you said, right? Like you said, you answered it in terms of putting ourselves first. Not good, but I think maybe there's a way to answer that. Let's be modern in how we approach this too. But that's not
yeah. Well, how do we keep it sexy in relationship? And how do we keep safety sexy? Because I don't want to sound like, oh, back in my day when I was it was like, I mean, my parents were born into the generation of love, right? Free love. So how do we have a modern relationship and a stable one and a healthy one and without necessarily a lot of like compromise to our self-esteem. I mean, there's just communities. Like, I've been part of a dance community for 3 years where every week there would be we'd go and just dance. It's called a static dance. And within that community, you'd see people over and over again, and you just give them a hug. You know, there was no, oh, now you have to go home with me. There was no pretense. It was like everybody was there for their own sort of expression. And I would say, you know, different spiritual communities can be like that. There's just, or different areas where you can express yourself. Like there are communities where affection is very much interwoven into the community. And on the contrary, and then there's the extreme. So let me lay out the spectrum. On one side is the violent expectation for physical exchange, for sexual exchange. On the other end is very stoicism, no touch, absolutely cold, zero touch, right? So an example of that is in the corporate workplace. For good reason. There are several rules against touch. And in a lot of different prison facilities, touch is not accepted. Or even in rehabilitation facilities, which I've worked in, touch is very much frowned upon. On the other end of it, we have things that are in the violent realm of touch, rape in the violent realm of touch, sex trafficking in the violent realm of touch. Somewhere down the spectrum, I would say people who expect to just meet you and hook up with you and exchange, I would categorize that as a violent exchange. You know, then there's people that are that's what they're really going for. That's what they're targeting. It's consensual. So maybe it's not violent, but it's still it's not an affectionate exchange of touch, you know? And in the middle is loving touch. You know, the extremes are 0 to 100. In the middle, in that like middle soft, sweet place is loving touch, hugs, affection, with community, and that's non-sexual. And then there's sexual touch, right? That is with your intimate partner, someone that you're really spiritually connecting to.
Would it be a good idea that if you are somebody in the middle and you're not in a relationship, eventually want to be ready for one, joining a dance community, tango? I was a tango dancer for a while. Everybody was just ready to sit down with each other and pat each other on the back. Or joining a health club. That could be a good way to sort of manage and find when you're not in a relationship.
I invite creativity to people's minds about where they find that connection. I even remember going on a road trip and going to this fast food restaurant called Bojangles. It's in the South. And there was a knitting circle in the fast food restaurant of these women, like, you know, just getting together and having community. My girlfriend just left. And having, so there's these people having a knitting circle in the restaurant, and there was community there, right? And so there's some creative ways you can really have sweet exchanges with people. But let's talk about sex.
Let's talk about sex.
Let's talk about sex. I mean, really, honestly, what are we talking about here? We're talking about everything. Let's just get to the point. Let's talk about sex, because at the core of all of this, I want to say again on record that sex is it's the intersection of everything. It's the intersection of everything. Sex is the intersection of emotional, physical, spiritual, mental, and financial health. It is the intersection of everything. And just like everything has a spectrum, so does sex. But so I want to hold sort of like the lotus blossom, like the middle of it is all those 5 components are firing, right? There's a sense of, when I say financial, there's a sense of resource, your resource. The mental is like you're mentally in alignment, you're with an agreement, you're within your own agency. When it's spiritual, it's something that takes you out of yourself and connects you to something bigger, right? Emotional is like, emotion is emotion, like to move outwards, to be expressive, to be like, this is the thing inside of me that I get to open up to and explore. And then obviously the container for all of this, for this exchange, is physical, this physical container. So let's talk about sex. Let's talk about sex. Let's talk about
kind of sex. All right.
Yeah.
So how many times a week is it healthy to have sex?
Well, sex is so is sex is just, it's like, what is healthy sex, right? Like, what is healthy sex? You can be having sex 20 times a week with 20 different people. Is that healthy sex, right? So I'm really talking about partnership, partnered sex, intimate sex, where you are vulnerable and open with another being, right? And together you're creating this alchemy. You're creating this thing called relationship together. You're in relationship, but your relationship has some very defining aspects to it, which is monogamy, which is you're committed to each other. You're committed to this journey and this unfolding. I believe Jack Kornfield says, like, relationship is a spiritual journey. So I want to be clear that when I'm saying let's talk about sex, that's the type of sex I'm talking about. That's the golden mean that I'm talking about.
That can be achieved through smart ritual, through knowing who we are, being authentic. That can be achieved by the three things you mentioned. And being flexible, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And so I can like almost hear the audience being like, well, great, fine, wonderful. I'm trying to have that. I have tried to date and try to have that. Like, I don't have $1 million matchmaker. I don't have, my mother is clearly uninterested in my life, or she's too interested in my life. I'm getting set up with horrible, horrible people. How do I just all of a sudden have this amazing, connective, wonderful sex, right? To which I would say, and everybody's going to be like, is it starts by being turned on yourself. It starts by being fearless in your expression of who you really feel you are. I feel like we're at such an amazing point in our history where people's internal expression is being championed. I'm seeing it in the transgender community. I'm seeing it in the gay community. I'm seeing it, I'm going to uphold Lady Gaga as somebody who's a performance artist who pushes herself and pushes the genre for these creative expressions. Where do you think space travel comes from? Because people push the creative edge, right? So when I hear people, people are like, I want to have that wonderful spiritual connection. I want to be in that relationship that's so amazing and fulfilling. Start here. Start with finding the truth inside of here, and let it radiate out of you. Let it radiate out of you. And it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen every day, all day. There's going to be depression. There's going to be struggle. You're not going to know which direction to turn. But find the commitment inside to just be who you are. And I believe wholeheartedly that the right people come into your life when you do that. And the wrong ones don't stick around for very long. Church, that's Bible.
Yeah, I'm almost just. I guess my question would be, what are some what are some good signals that maybe we're fooling ourselves, we're not being who we are?
Mm.
Because I think that's what a lot of the frustration comes from, is so much of social media, so much of what we see around us tries to help us understand how we should be.
Ah.
And I think it could be really misleading. And at one point, you kind of lose count of all the things that you think are right, or possibly you just fall in the wrong company or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Oh, wow. So just let's just everyone again take a breath, because we're about to go down the rabbit hole. Like, down the rabbit hole is such a potent question. Like, okay, great. Well, then how do we be who we are when there's so much influence? Because this opens the mind up to be like, well, I just won't care about what anybody thinks of me, and I'm just going to do my own thing, and only God can judge me. Thug life, like people just, they just start to go on getting like neck tattoos and whatever else. So, and they're just like, this is who I am. This is who I am. And here's what I'm going to say about that is, we can't really find out who, this is the slippery slope. This is the tricky wicket. We can't find out who we are without relationships. We just can't. We can't figure out, I don't want to date a guy that is just an artist and is broke, without maybe dating an artist who is broke. Because I did that, and so when we're asking, like, how do you just stay who you are and not sway to the influence of culture or society or whatever?
Anxiety, our own anxiety.
Yeah. So what I would say is, there is sort of like a scale. There's sort of like a balance point, because I have to pay my taxes. Like, I don't have to, but I choose to play by some certain societal rules. I just do. I just choose to drive on the right side of the road and whatever else. Choose to play along with the governmental games, the things laws that have been in place. I choose to play along with those games. But I also choose to be an innovator. I choose to be an artist. I choose to ask questions. I choose to challenge the hierarchy. I choose to stand up for what I believe in. I choose to continue to say, these are the gifts that I was given. I wasn't given the gifts of music or accounting or anything like that. I was given the gifts of being able to clearly counsel people, to get down in the nitty gritty into the heart space. That's my gift. And I choose to honor that particular gift, right? And for some other people, it's design, or it is numbers, or it is being a mother, or it is being a pastor or a leader, or it's like big, small, or indifferent, right? There's a balance point to being yourself. It's how much am I going to play to the structures in place, and how much am I going to challenge them? And you find your own balance point in that, right? You find your own balance between the rebel without a clue or without a cause, and the conformist. That's sort of the balance. And it's a lifelong journey to play with those two sides.
And a committed journey to know,
Mm-hmm.
I guess, who you are. Because if you're passively going through life, you're never quite, you're kind of lost in the wind of life.
And I want to sort of bring this into partnership, into relationship, because I see this all the time. What Harville Hendrix describes as the power struggle, right? Like, how much am I going to submit? How much of me, or how much of discomfort, and I'll just do that with my whole body. How much discomfort am I going to deal with, versus how much am I going to engage? How much am I going to engage or disengage? Why am I engaging or disengaging in the relationship? So I want to, really bring in that's a differentiating factor. If you're using a dating app, a matching site, or you're meeting people in person, you're always deciding your scale. I'm going to engage this much. I feel this socially comfortable. I feel this confident. I can step about this far forward in this. This doesn't feel comfortable. It doesn't feel safe. I'm out of here. I'm not doing this. Forget about it. I'm disengaging. And there's sort of like a swivel that is constantly happening. So the thing about when you can swivel in life, right? When you can have that flexibility, the reason you can do that is because there's like a core sort of aspect because of a sense of me, a sense of self. And I would say the number one way to arrive on your sense of self, that core aspect, is through meditation, through being still, through learning the art of meditation.
And that would be done through, I guess, means like yoga, or just even having a moment, having more time for oneself in the day. What do you recommend someone to do?
Well, we'll do it right now. I've been saying it to people throughout the video. So really quickly, just breathe. Like, it took 5 seconds. That's it. That's all it is. Just
Easy enough.
yeah. In fact, yeah, go ahead. In fact, if you really want to connect with somebody, if you really want to create a subtle connection, breathe like they breathe. If you see, some people breathe like this. Well, I'm exaggerating, but some people only breathe from like, no, and then there's other people, with a lot of people who practice yoga know pranayama ujjayi breath, which is the deep breath, right? And also, when you have conversations like this with people, sometimes they just stop breathing. They're like, and that's, you know, I mean, that's the thing about being in physical proximity of somebody you can't get from like a dating app or being online. You can't really get the breathing part. You can't get that level of subtle information without being like physically next to somebody.
Do you think it's possible to just find somebody through sitting in a cafe with a bistro and watching people breathe and seeing, is that like enough of a signal towards people?
And further down the rabbit hole. Yeah, I love this. Hope everybody else is loving it too. Yes. Yes. Yes, when you go to a cafe, when you go to somewhere that you could maybe be still enough, you can sort of observe people's interactions, right? You can sort of be an observer in a non-creepy way, just in a way that you would observe the wind blow through the trees. It's just sort of like a natural event in your environment. And if you're going to interact with somebody that's new, I would say notice your own breathing first, because you know, like meeting new people is weird. Like there's a great quote out there that says, you know, making friends is weird. You just find a stranger and you say, let's do stuff together. And then you do it. You know, we all start as like, if you really think about it, like, let's say you're 20 years old. You've lived on the planet for 20 years and you meet some person you're attracted to who's a complete stranger that's going to be your life partner. Like, how weird is that? Some person goes from like stranger to family. Stranger to family. Like, what? And that starts with breathing. you can't do that without breathing and connect. And when you connect with people, really connect with them, it's good to like notice your own breath. When you're confident, when you feel good, when you feel curious, when you feel open, when you're not judging the moment, when you're just allowing it to be what it is, your breath tends to be more full, like, right? But when you're like,
You
do
know,
you like me? Do 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 you like me? You know, puts off a different vibe.
best advice or best prescription to approaching the relationship I've ever heard, because I grow up, I'm supposed to like take care of myself. In the big city, the girls are still taking care of themselves, and health should be universal to anything, not just relationship. I'm getting it. I'm as a woman getting an outfit, putting on heels. I don't know if that helps me breathe better. Usually, it helps me feel weird, more uncomfortable. Guys are pulling out cigars at networking events just to say how cool they are, and then that's a lot of money for finance too.
Yeah.
That's a lot of stress. You know, balancing on heels is never easy. So this whole like world I kind of grew up in, I'm an '80s girl. I think you're almost the same gen.
Mm-hmm.
I know it was very different, and probably for the first time ever, other than just like normal health, has this breathing probably been the best piece of advice I've ever heard for a relationship.
And hopefully it's, yeah, and me too, because this is not, you know, this is not original to me. It's not like I came up with breathing. You're welcome. You know, like I invented it. it's just that I have been practiced as a yoga, a person who's practiced yoga, who went to a school that really emphasized the importance of mindfulness around our breathing, being mindful of our breath. And so I want to kind of touch base to a question we asked way back that we can or cannot edit out. But I want to talk about ritual.
Yeah.
Ritual.
Yeah.
So we've talked about sex. So now let's talk about ritual on the heels of really okay, so now you're mindful in your breathing, right? So everybody's doing it right now. Just take a quick moment. Notice how you're breathing. I stopped breathing a little bit. So I'm going to take a deep breath and kind of reset.
Okay.
Quick reset of my body. 5-second reset. So a lot of people get anxiety about thinking about doing something new, right? And that anxiety becomes habit, and that shallow breath becomes habit. So if you're going to start a new ritual, let's say you want to lose weight, or you want to lose weight, look better, feel better, so that you can meet your mate, right? So that you can really be in partnership. You want to make healthier choices about who you're allowing in your life. But the idea of doing that, you just kind of can feel overwhelmed. This is where many people start. They have a notion they might want to do something, or they should do it, or there's a little motivation to do it, or they watched a lot of Oprah and now they're like, I'm going to do it. And it lasts for like a couple days, right? So let's come back to the mindfulness breathing. If you're really going to do something, then you set, and this is from Tony Robbins, it's so great. You set your outcome. You set like, this is what I want to, and then also Danielle Laporte, brilliant, the desire map. This is what I want to feel. I want to feel vibrant. I want to feel sexy in flats, not walking. No, I don't have to wear heels to feel sexy. I want to feel great without makeup, which I chose to not wear today for our interview because I feel like this is more authentically me, you know? Okay. So if you're going to start down the path of a new ritual, something you're going to do repetitively to support health, to get you in a good space, it always starts with your breath. Okay. And then it starts with defining where I am. I'm just going to make a scenario up, or, and you can use one too. So we'll both do this.
Okay.
So, and I invite the audience to do this, like go grab a piece of paper and do this. So you start and you just write down, I am currently, for me, I'm currently single. It's been 2 years since my last committed relationship where I had, where I was carrying the title of being a girlfriend and I had a boyfriend. My outcome I want to be in a partnership. I don't want to just be in a dating scenario. I want to be with somebody who is going to be a lifelong partner, right? And I want to feel, when I'm in that partnership, I want to feel free, I want to feel confident and supported. I want to be supported and be supporting. And that gives me, it makes my shoulders strong, makes my back feel better. So that's the practice. So I just want to go through the quick steps again. Start with your breath. Think about the sort of broad picture of what behaviors you're thinking you want to change. So start with where you're at. And so for instance, where you're at, and the outcomes you want and how you want to feel. So if I give you that format, what would you start with?
I would start with breathing.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. And you want the answer now to what
Mm-hmm.
I want?
Yeah. How would you use that?
I've also not been in a relationship with the title, and not in relationship with the title. And I want to first and foremost feel strongest in my body that I can be to perform my daily tasks and overcome my daily obstacles and accept my daily gifts in the strongest and healthiest body and mind. Because I want that partner to see that when I meet him. Or her. Him. I'm interested in that.
That's great. And I'm sure you're echoing the voice of millions.
But if I meet her, because I love having girlfriends, and I think
Mm-hmm.
in between, when you don't have a boyfriend, having strong girlfriends is
Mm-hmm.
being also a member of your own gender.
Mm-hmm.
Important to be the strongest you can be.
Oh, huge point. To be a member of your own gender, right? At whatever that is, whether male, female, or trans, whether cisgendered, transgendered, or I don't know if there's another category forming, but possibly. So to be part of your close community. Yeah.
So if you can be strong, in my opinion, if you're strong in your own community, in your gender,
Mm-hmm.
your chances of crossing up to the other chasm of gender are better, or stronger than
Mm-hmm.
you're not even managing your own gender.
Mm. Yeah, really, again, juicy topic in the sense of, gosh, how many of us are in competition with our own gender? How many people are really just bringing each other down, being, and not uplifting your own sort of side of the street, your own gender. And I agree. It's a really powerful thing when you feel supported by your girlfriends. And I'll just give an example. I was going to go to this party just randomly last night. It was somebody new that I didn't really know. I had a bunch of girlfriends go with me. We drove up. We saw people sitting out on the balcony. They were all around 60 years old. And they're like, no, no, we're out of here. We're not putting ourselves in that situation. And here's the thing. If I would have gone by myself or not had those strong girlfriends, I might have gotten into a situation that wasn't as good for me, or neutral. It could have been neutral at best. And so that's why, like, having support of people that have your back, that are It's good, and you see, it's powerful. It's different because it's different hanging out with girls than it is men.
Yeah.
There's just different expectations.
Definitely. So coming back to, I guess, I think that for me, actually, when I see guys and they don't have reference to other of their peers, I see that as a signal that there could be something wrong. And actually, recently, I was seeing somebody who didn't have support of their peers. I didn't see it. I heard a lot of that support being turned down, and I actually was worried. And in the end, when I decided to stop seeing that person, obviously you give it a chance because you can't just take one data point. I think take a realm of data points to make a conclusion. But that was one of the factors, that this person wasn't accepted. When I see a girl that only has guy friends, I'm also kind of worried about that.
So I think at this point in our conversation, it's safe to say that there's so many complexities. Yeah. So if we were really to boil this down to some core kind of points, like if you're going to go back and edit through this, what things do you feel like you really want as takeaways for people? Like what things do you really feel like when people listen to you and I conversate with each other, they leave being like, oh, I took this away and I took this away and I took this away?
Well, I think we had a lot of large topics coming up, and I think my biggest takeaway is the breathing and the rituals. Learning how that is the most important thing to attract, be the strongest person you can be to approach relationship. Knowing how important that is in terms of what we need in a relationship, which is sex and touch, important. Knowing nature. I think we can link it all together. But I think the breathing is the most interesting sort of revelation we've put out. We've thought about.
So I had to plug my computer in, so say that last part again. Sorry.
I personally think the biggest takeaway is the breathing. It's being in your element. And not even only being in your element, just liking yourself, but actually breathing.
So why don't we just do some quick, just sort of like, we'll just practice some intros to these things. So basically, like the one thing you really need to be attractive, to be magnetic, you know, or the one thing you need to really to have healthy relationship. And we'll introduce it, and you can just be like, I'm Ella, and from Keep It Sexy, and this is Rebekah, relationship expert out of Southern California, and we're talking today about the one thing you need. So we'll go through that. So I love it that our conversation today, it's like the breathing was really good. Obviously you could cut a whole other one where like we're talking about sex today, like the maybe we want to write this down. The 5 components that, I don't even remember everything we recorded.
If there's anything we're missing, Jonathan and I will do some intros. Like he'll film me and
okay.
So don't worry, but we can do that now as well. But
okay,
he will. Yeah. We have a studio, so we can do it. Yeah.
Cool. Yes, I think the topics that we sort of touched base today was like digital relationships, the pros and cons of digital relationships. We touched the one thing you need to have a healthy connection or healthy relationship. And the 5 components of really good sex.
Okay.
Which you could cut in like the importance of touch under the 5 components of really good sex. I think those are the 3 that I think we sort of covered today.
Yeah.
Do you think, I've noticed on the internet a trending thing is people being like, well, how do I know if he likes me? Or how do I know if she likes me? So let's have a little short conversation. We could have a conversation about that if that sounds good to you.
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna eat breakfast.
I'm hungry. So do you want me to do the intros? Because want me to do separately, like when I'm standing up and Jonathan's speaking in the lines, or do you want to also have them here?
No, why don't you do the intro separately? Like today we're going to be talking to Rebekah. And so I can do a little PSA, a little information about me right now. I can just do like a, hi, I'm Rebekah. I'm coming from California. Just so if you want to sort of, if you want to ask me, if you want me to just do that naturally, I can just do that right now.
Yeah, let's do that. Just do that.
Okay.
Hi, Rebekah. Hi, I'm Rebekah.
Hi, hi everybody out there in computer land and everybody watching. My name is Rebekah McClaskey. I also go by Rebekah Freedom. I'm excited to be talking to Ella today and to keep it sexy and giving you all the juicy tidbits you need to really have a healthy relationship. And as a counselor, I provide my clients real answers and no bullshit. We all know there's enough of that. So I'm excited to get started today.
Great.
I hate that last part. Let's do that again. So I'll start again.
I'm based in Southern California. I'm a relationship counselor.
Yeah.
Excited to do this.
Okay, let's do this. Hi, everyone. My name is Rebekah McClaskey. I also go by Rebekah Freedom. I am a clairvoyant relationship counselor, and I'm based out of Southern California. And I have been helping people have and get healthy relationships for the past 3 years. And today, Ella and I are going to have a great conversation and provide you with lots of information so you can do the same thing. So, hi.
You like it? Do you want to do one?
Yeah, we can do one more so we can cut in different things.
You're not breathing anymore.
Stop breathing.
You're not even turning me on. Okay.
Hi, everybody. Welcome, everybody, to just sort of take a breath and land. I want to introduce myself. My name is Rebekah McClaskey. I also go by Rebekah Freedom. I am a relationship counselor. I live in beautiful Southern California now. And Ella and I are going to be talking to you today about a lot of different healthy components you need to have a healthy relationship. So, hi. Okay.
We'll find something from that.
We'll find something from that.
So how do we know? I think let's go to the last question series.
Okay.
Rebekah, number one thing I think everybody wants to know when they're approaching a relationship is, how do we know he or she likes me?
Oh, well, a lot of people get on Google and start typing in, how do I know he or she likes me, right? And trust me, I've done this, and I know for sure there are tons of lists of how you know someone likes you. So my girlfriends, where we're on the beach the other day and we're talking about, if you like a guy, you don't call him back right away. Don't act like an eager beaver. Don't act too needy. Don't act like blah, 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 blah. And on the guy's side, there's like this rule of like, oh, it just shouldn't text for this amount of time. So in the meantime, everybody's thinking the same thing. Does this person like me? Am I attracted? Like, am I attracted to them? You know, are we on the same playing field? So I'll give you 3 really simple things to go by if someone likes you. They communicate with you. They keep communicating with you. They don't stop communicating with you, right? I have 15-year friendships where months will go by, but we'll reach out to each other and communicate. But that's different. That's a different type of like. If you want to be in a romantic relationship, you communicate like every day. You're in some sort of exchange every day. Now, this doesn't necessarily happen out of the gate, right? If you meet somebody and you're like, or they're like, or I'm not really sure, you know, it can take some time to really start that flow of communication. But I guarantee, we can write it right there, guarantee that if someone likes you, they'll communicate with you. The second part, if someone likes you romantically, physically, they find you attractive, they're going to tell you one of two ways. They're going to touch you, right? They're going to be flirty, a little touchy. They're going to be, and this is the tricky part, they're going to be physical with you. If someone finds you attractive, most of the time they'll sleep with you. And, you know, obviously we're just going to put the out layer of the desperate situations, but they'll touch you. That's a form of communication. And they'll tell you, you look pretty. I think that dress looks good on you. I really enjoy doing this with you. I find you to be an intelligent person, you know, and this is something that I encourage couples to do when they've been together for 10 years, 20 years, longer, is treat each other like the beginning, when you really were like telling each other clearly, I'm attracted to you for this reason. You turn me on, you know, you're beautiful, you're handsome, you're strong. I appreciate the security and safety you give me. Gratitude is a huge, huge community. So, all right, 1, they communicate. 2, they communicate that they like you and there's a physical change. 3, they stick around. They stick around. They don't bolt. They don't go sleep with some other girl and come back and tell you, oh, I'm sorry, I really love you. But, you know, they stick around there, and there's faith. You guys are faithful. That's how you know people like you. Very simple. And that's not gender bias, male or female. If a female likes you, she'll stay in touch with you. The way she does it is going to be unique to her. If a male likes you, he'll stay in touch with you. And the way he does it is unique to them. And the way that people communicate that they like each other, the actual I like you, is through touch and through direct communication. Any questions?
So I'd like to erase all the nonsense that we do. Yeah, so how do we manage that when we're trying to like use Facebook?
Oh, yeah.
That's something so many people do. Do we just basically write that off because that is just not a way to formally communicate properly?
So I want to say, okay, like all the digital platforms, like the bajillion digital platforms are out there, are grocery stores. They're grocery stores, vending machines, turnstiles, whatever, right? They're the purchase of the ticket, right? That's what it is. It's the purchase of the ticket. Is like there's all these different ways that we're displaying ourselves. And that's like the face value. That's like, basically, it's like you can have a pretty label on the carton of milk. That's what Facebook is. But if the milk is sour, you're not going to drink it. And if you do, you might be a little crazy. So we're like sour milk. Everybody has their own thing. So what I'm saying is that as far as the communication part, like these are jumping off points. Facebook's a jumping off point where you can be like, ooh, who's he been with before? Or who's he with now? Or there's different information that you gather that you wouldn't otherwise just meeting the person. And that's fine. I mean, it's the world we live in. You can get to know that. But if a person likes you and you like a person, you're not going to think about and you trust them, then the communications that happen on Facebook are consistent with how they are in real life. But if you go out on a date with one guy and he messages your girlfriend on Tinder and you slept with that guy the night before and you find him with pictures of other girls on Facebook, it's a new world we live in where you can sort of like, everyone's a detective. So the simple thing I would say is that when you do find that information out, it's an indication they don't like you like that. They're not there for you to learn about who you are. They're there to use you like a vending machine.
So due diligence, so we have to be smart and do our diligence.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah,
the natural thing should happen no matter what, if it comes through digitally, help digitally, or if it's done in person.
Yeah, I mean, Facebook can be, it's a powerful tool. I'm staying in touch with people that I wouldn't normally stay in touch with. It's amazing in that sense, you know, like the technology we have has a bright side and a dark side, and it's sort of operator driven. You know, like I get to choose, I choose what goes on my Facebook. I don't choose how Facebook uses it. They basically rule the world with all the information they're gathering from us, but that's another topic altogether. So on the topic of does he like me or does she like me, I would say that you can use Facebook and other Instagram and different things as a tool to find out sort of about the character of the person. But the only way to know is to continue communicating via all the avenues we have to communicate: email, Facebook, text, phone, but mostly kids, adults, everyone out there, just communicate with each other in person. Like, make some in-person time. Like, you know, we're not all avatars. So that's pretty much the cliff notes of that.
I think it's really good.
Okay, cool.
Awesome. Thank you, Libby. Like, I'm so happy. How about we just have like I'll say we're so happy. Thanks very much. Can't wait. We need it. Or you just, I'll do it in an hour, Jonathan. But just say, hey, I'm ready. If you have any questions, you can email me at Rebekah or whatever. And do your website, in my book, do your own little.
I'll closing. So I want to thank everybody so much for watching today. I hope that the information that came through really inspired you and that you connected with it. And if you want to know more, or if you want to work with me one-on-one, you can connect with me through my website. We're going to put a link down below, transformnowcounseling.com. I also have a book that you can purchase to just get started right now, which is Break Up Rehab, Start Over Stronger. And you can just go over to Amazon.com and either download it or purchase the paper version. Again, thank you so much. I wish you well in life, love, and I'm here for you with real answers and no bullshit. Take care.
Thank you, Rebekah.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it's so fun.
Yeah, I want to see if Jonathan and I can put it together in like a really long 2 segments. I think we can have that done. So.
Cool. We finally did it. I'm glad. Like last night, here, I'll stop broadcasting.
Yeah. I'll just move myself to the kitchen or something to get some water.